Hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with my co-host, Matty B. Let's get into high tempo. And this weekend is the NHL's stadium series or outdoor. What they used to call it the Winter Classic, didn't they?
Yeah.
I always get confused. I think they're calling it the Stadium Series now or something. And they're playing at Carter Finley Stadium, which is NC State's football stadium. Now, I thought about going to the NHL one, but I had some other stuff come up, and the tickets are more expensive than I thought. I know the Canes are doing well right now, but I mentioned before that on Monday, NC State's hockey team's supposed to be playing outdoors. So I'm hoping for good weather. They announced that it's free to get in, and I have a hard time believing that they're not going to come close to selling out just because of the hype around it, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know what the parking would be like if they're having buses or whatever, if I can just park on campus and ride a bus over, or if I can just park and walk at the fairgrounds. But I'm going to try to go next Monday, and then I'll bring my feedback back to the show next week. I just don't know what the weather's going to be like. It's been cold, like I said, on and off at night. So I feel like it would be good. It's a 7 p.m. game. I know the NHL one's on Saturday. I think they have a built-in day in case there is a weather issue, right? But I don't know so much about the Monday night game. I thought that was the last day for activities. So we'll see. Have you ever been to an outdoor NHL thing like that?
No. I
did go to, I think it was the NC State spring game a couple of years ago. They were doing a Stanley Cup reunion. I don't think it was 2021. When did the Canes win the Cup? I don't even know, but it was an anniversary thing. So I did get some pictures of the Cup, and they had a fan fest day, which I thought was pretty cool. But that's the only time that I've done anything outdoors that they had there. But it wasn't really a hockey game. It was more like a football game with hockey events around it. So kind of like a mix and match type day. Hey, what are you more interested in, kids? The football or the hockey? And then you can do it that way. But that's my high tempo. We'll see how the weather holds up. I'm hoping it's going good, but that's what I'm going to check out. Do you have anything you want to hit on before we talk about the Super Bowl?
No, let's get into the Super Bowl.
All right, I have on here that the Eagles got screwed. And before you argue with me, because I don't even know what your stance is, I
like that you just come in with, no matter what I say, you're going to fight me on it.
Well, I watched the game, and it was a great game. It reminded me of the Michigan TCU football game, which is why I think I was more annoyed than anything. The Eagles deserved a chance to try to score to tie the game or win it. The Chiefs did nothing to stop them down the stretch. The Eagles came back, tied it up. Eagles had them down, and then they called the holding call. And they could be the right call. He was definitely holding. It was inside the press zone. I want to say they were running that same wheel route with Juju that they ran earlier in the game. At least I think it was Juju, right? So yeah. I think they were running that same wheel route that he got wide open on earlier in the game. So they were trying to do a press man coverage on him. Is there going to be grabbing on that? Yeah, it happens on every play. That was the first defensive holding penalty that they called all game. The official had to know that it was under 2 minutes and that his call ended the game. Even the announcers were kind of stunned. And the one football player, was it Greg Olson? I don't even know who was doing the commentary. But they were like, oh, no, he did hold him a little bit. I could see the call where you're coming from or whatever. If I was the receiver, I'd want it to be called. And I'm like, yeah, because you're the receiver, man. Of course you're going to side with the receiver. But you need to fight through that. And my second beef with it is the Eagles were called for double the amount of penalties. It wasn't a high penalty type game. Double the yards of penalties. And then they call that one. Uncalled for. Just let the teams play. If the Chiefs deserve to win, let them win it. It would almost be like going to the movies, like to see like Avengers. What was that one where they fought Thanos? Like they're like, you're watching the battle with Thanos, and then some movie nerd comes out and's like, we ran out of budget, that's it. Thanos, he's in the lead right now, so they got it. We're just going to run the timeout, guys. And then you'd be like, what the hell? Like, I don't even get to see like the thrilling conclusion. That's exactly what the NFL just did. It was like, hey, we're going to see if the Eagles can actually... Is Jalen Hurts the guy? Is he going to have a game-winning drive? Is he going to flub it? Is he going to fumble again on the next drive? We don't know. It's like, no, we're not letting that happen. And holding. And the ball wasn't even catchable. So, like, even if they could have waved it off, I guarantee there was offensive holding on the same exact play they could have called. Because there's offensive holding on every play. So if the NFL really wanted to, they could have just called offsetting penalties and let them run it again. But it was almost like the Chiefs didn't even care. Mahomes knew that they were settling for the field goal. He threw it way over his head. And I know they can't wave off defensive pass interference on a holding call, which is why they called holding. But to me, we don't know if the ball was in the air because that's a slow developing route. And the way Mahomes threw it, I mean, maybe it was before it. I didn't really break it down. But I just know that the way the call was made was bullshit. And then there's going to be people that watch that and say, the NFL's fixed. And honestly, after the NBA issues where people are gambling on the games, the NFL has gambling ads all over the place. How do you know that official didn't have family that was gambling or some other connection? And he's just like, you know what? Let's end it. Because it was a game-ending flag. He might as well just walked out there and gave the Chiefs the game ball and went home. Because that's what he did. The fact that they were joking and he's like, whoever was commentating was like, I don't want to jinx him. It's like, you're not going to jinx him. You might as well have just said, there's no way he can miss his field goal. It was closer than an extra point now. It was right down the middle. If he'd have missed it, that would have been like a death threat event of the year.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Because that was embarrassing. The NFL was basically gifting it to them, and then they were like, 8 seconds left? And all around, it was dumb, I thought. What do you think?
I kind of thought before the game even started, I saw somebody had posted about the field conditions that for the game, the grass, like the turf had been planted like so many years prior and managed and was on this routine that like the total cost of just the playing surface for the Super Bowl was $800,000. And I thought for almost like that stood out to me because then as you're watching the Super Bowl, like throughout the game, there were times where it looked like guys were falling down and like having trouble with their footing. And I just thought for that much money, like players being interviewed after it said they felt like the field was really wet and they were having trouble maintaining their feet. And I just thought that was on that stage. It's a shame that the field conditions are being reported as terrible, like from both sides. It wasn't like we would have won that game, but the field sucks. Like both sides were saying that like it wasn't done well.
You know what's funny, Matt? That's the exact same field that Michigan had issues with in the bowl game. They said the exact same thing. And they said, no, we homegrown each field. They even put a video out of them growing the grass and bringing it in. And Michigan said that it was unlike anything they've ever played on. And it was like bullshit. And then so anytime I hear an NFL guy say like the same people that laughed about Michigan complaining about it are now like outraged that the NFL put that out on horrendous conditions. I'm like, it's the exact same thing. They didn't change the process, Matt. It's the exact same field, the exact same thing they did for the Michigan bowl game. I forget what the hell that game's called, Fiesta Bowl, where they played TCU.
Yeah.
And whenever you're a running pound game like Michigan has, just like the Eagles, Matt, you can't get the grip. The Eagles ended up doing the same thing Michigan did at halftime. I think they put on the longer spikes. But by that point, you're already down, right? Weren't they down, or did they have the lead? They could have put that game away early.
Well, that was kind of the feel that I thought was going to happen. They just had that look like, oh, they're definitely going to pull away with this quick.
It was the fumble. But like I said, the fumble shouldn't be his legacy because they should have had a chance at the end of the game to have a drive.
Yeah, and I remember when the fumble happened, I thought, oh, that's going to come back to bite him. And I was more surprised. Like, I think if the throw would have been closer, like the ball was thrown out of the back of the end. Like it wasn't even, all things considered, I know he was held. Juju was held, but
but they're saying he was held before the ball was thrown, so Mahomes still threw that ball away. The holding had nothing to do with it.
Well, and I thought, well, even if trying to give the benefit of the doubt, like that ball wasn't anywhere remotely close to where the receiver was at. That it's hard to throw a penalty in that situation. I don't know. I think that was a hard way to have it finish. I think if it was a closer throw, and you're like, you know what, that definitely like changed the outcome of the play. I don't think that type of penalty, and maybe that's just my own bias. I don't mind calling penalties if it affects the outcome of the play. But even if he was completely unheld, he wasn't catching that ball.
My thing is, they said that like it was going on all game. Call it earlier in the game. Then you let them play that way the entire game. You let them hold and do other things because it happened on both sides. Like if that's how you're calling the game, don't change it with under 2 minutes to go. Because like you bailed the Chiefs out. The Chiefs played a worse game. Take away the fumble was that returned for a touchdown, I think, right? I can't remember because they picked one up. Which also could have been a touchdown. The Eagles could have gave the game away. But they talk about like Mahomes, he's won it, he's been awesome. He threw for 182 yards, Matt. That's embarrassing. That's not a Super Bowl MVP, right? I know he played hurt, but he threw for 182 yards. What's high flying about that? Right? There's no way you can say that he outplayed Hurts. Hurts had better stats all around. He deserved to have a chance to go back out there, and they took it away from him. So I feel bad for him because everyone was doubting him left and right, saying like, oh, Hurts doesn't deserve to be out there. He's not able to do this. He's not able to do that. But it's like crazy. You want to know how crazy it is for the Mahomes thing? I still have it up. Mahomes hit 21 passes for 182 yards. Our boy Trent Dilfer hit 12 passes for 153 yards that Super Bowl that everyone said he didn't do anything. 30 more yards, Matt, he would have been Mahomes level. He could have got MVP. I don't think he did, but like that, and they had a big lead, so they really could just run the clock out. Yeah, Ray Lewis was the MVP, but that's what I was thinking of during the game. Like, yeah, Mahomes is throwing, but they're like not really doing anything. They're running all those trick plays. Which, if you give credit to Bieniemy, why isn't he a head coach tomorrow? Right? If everyone's like, oh, he did a hell of a job, it's like, all right, pick him up then. Right? Give him a chance. Don't let him just stay there. I don't know. It feels very Ben Roethlisberger-esque to me. Right? Where, wasn't it the game? Well, yeah, his second Super Bowl was the one where they had the pick six on defense, right?
Yeah,
and then he
Arizona.
He did throw Holmes late. It would be like that, but he didn't have to hit Santonio Holmes. They just had to wait for the ref to call a flag, and then they kicked a field goal instead. That's how the Chiefs won that Super Bowl. It's like we needed a defensive score to get us back in the game, and then we needed a ref to make sure that the game ended while we still had the lead. I don't think I don't look at that Chiefs team and think, oh, that's a dynasty. Like, they're going to be back, you know? But maybe I'm wrong.
But I think that Chiefs team could be back because they have, like, when you look at Kansas City, where are their holes? They have line play. They have consistency on defense. They have Mahomes, and the formula for them seems to be just find fast receivers and scat backs, and they piss with the motion.
Yeah. I don't think the coaching staff stays together, though. Like, if it's really Bieniemy drawing up all these plays, and someone's eventually going to take a chance at him, right? Or Reed retires and he becomes the head coach, what could be its own big thing. But I still think, like, Chad Henne retired after that Super Bowl. They needed him. If he didn't have that touchdown drive, it was like the longest touchdown drive in like NFL history or whatever in the playoffs. If they didn't have like, it was like a 98 or something. If they didn't have that, they didn't even make the Super Bowl. So like, you're losing a lot of like veteran leadership that's been there. And so if you want him, like, they're trying to say like, oh, he's the next Tom Brady. But to me, it feels more like a Russell Wilson or a Ben Roethlisberger. I just can't shake it. Like, it wasn't impressive to me. I didn't think that was a clutch drive. They played scared. Like, he didn't try to win the game. Like, Tom Brady would have tried to win the game, right?
Well, and I thought kind of the opposite from the Eagles' perspective. Like, the Eagles were up, and I thought you could really put this game away. And it was like they started playing not to lose, and it just felt like they got themselves into situations where they ended up having to be in some predictable play calling situations because of like getting behind in the sticks.
I did say that with people I was watching with. I said the Chiefs are going to win this game because right now the Eagles they kind of turtled. But then next thing you know, the Chiefs didn't take advantage. They did their own crap plays, and let them tie it up. And once they tied it up, it was like, we're going to see an awesome game. We're going to see a quarterback get a chance to get a game-winning drive, and they never did. And like I brought up Tom Brady, like Mahomes ran that clock out, but they didn't finish the clock. They needed a ref to finish the clock. Tom Brady would have had that drive down to where they win with the game-winning field goal. Remember that was his thing? The first couple of Super Bowls where they were like, he's getting lucky. He's making sure they're hitting like last-second field goals to win these games. It's like he drove them down there really slow and methodical and did that on purpose. Like, Mahomes had a chance to do that, but he couldn't pull it off until the refs helped him. And they still had 8 seconds on the clock. Right? He still couldn't get another first down or whatever. They needed to just make sure they kicked it with 1 second left.
Well, did you think Mahomes was he severely re-injured his leg?
Oh, I don't know. I saw a lot of people, I don't know if you saw this, but there were a lot of people saying that like he was on some type of steroid for that game. And the way he was running, there's no, like, he had to be on something. I don't think he really injured it. Like, that last drive had a run by him for like 10 yards or whatever. Now, it's not like he's running, but people think like he's a running quarterback. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's a scrambling quarterback. That's why I brought up like Russell Wilson and Ben Roethlisberger. They're elusive in the pocket. He's not known for like just tearing away and Mike Vick and just breaking down the field. Mahomes can't do that.
But I almost see the direction that you don't have to be Mike Vick per se, but you have to be mobile enough to escape pressure. And I feel like one of the things that you see, and it reminds me of the Bill Belichick quote, that if you don't have a good offensive line, he's bringing at least 5 guys and going to make the offensive line block one-on-one consistently in the pass game. And I think like that's why you're seeing a lot more man type coverages and stuff, because you're seeing a lot of quarterbacks getting pressure because they can't handle that rush. So if you don't have a quarterback that's mobile, not saying that they have to be a complete scrambler, but they better be able to make some plays with their legs. You're going to be in trouble.
Well, that's why I keep bringing up Russell Wilson and Roethlisberger. They're the same type of quarterbacks to me as Mahomes. Like, how many years do we hear about how Ben is going to be a gunslinger this year? He's elusive in the pocket. they can't bring him down, right? Just because he's bigger and they were actually hitting him. How is that different than what Mahomes does, where he's just like shifty instead of big, right? So that's my thing. Like, we keep hearing about it, how he's going to be a gunslinger, and how many predictions did we have of Ben winning another Super Bowl, and it never happened. That's what I want to see, like, going forward. This Super Bowl, like I said, the parallels to the Steelers' last one, I saw, like, I see them, but it was almost like even more of a dud when they couldn't put the game away, and that yet the ref just bailed him out. That's basically what that call was. Bailed him out, and they still couldn't run the clock out. I still can't get that around. Like, you can't run the clock out. You still have to kick the whatever. I know they were like, well, we're not going to mess it up. Just run the ball. The guy's not going to really fumble it. I mean, maybe they do, and then everyone's like second doubting it, but whatever. It's already a tie game. I just don't see it. Like, why? If Mahomes so great, put the ball in his hands, he's not going to make a mistake. And if he makes a mistake, then he's not so great. I don't get it. That's my thing. I think the Eagles could be back. Their team seems to be loaded, and I bet that they have to be pissed off with the ending. But like with the NFL, you would think with all the trending memes about like Mahomes on steroids to get back for the Super Bowl, the game scripts where the games are fixed, and then you have a call like that. Doesn't that just raise more questions? Because now people are going to see that and they're going to say like, oh, I think of these game script things, those must be real. And then it's like, oh yeah, the official bails out Mahomes. Perfect. Perfect. They're like, oh yeah, because even early in the game, they were like, oh yeah, the Chiefs think if they get to 30 points, they have this game won. And it's like, did they know that the ref was going to bail them out if they got to 30-something points? Because 30 wasn't enough. The Eagles got there, right? So, I don't know. I don't really care for the Philly teams, but that's 2 in a row that their fans have lost, right? They lost the World Series.
Yep.
Now they lost the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And the World Series was a little bit different, but the Super Bowl, man, I don't see how you watch that game if you're a Phillies fan and you're not pissed off. And not like thinking, why am I going to watch next year? Because you're like, we'll be back. But it's like, we should have had a chance. And that's the same thing. I brought it up after the Michigan game. Make the call correctly. Because like it would almost be like, could you imagine, like, remember Michigan, they made the call that there was targeting and then they went to review it and they picked it up. Like, could you imagine if they said holding on the field and then they picked it up? But instead, they kept it because like they wanted the game to end. Same with Michigan. They just wanted the game to be over instead of letting them have the chance so that there's no argument about it either way. It's like, well, win it on the field. We're not letting it call end of the game. And I don't see why the crew didn't argue with that dude and say, bro, what are you doing? You realize there's only whatever, and that ball wasn't even anywhere close to being caught. Just pick up the flag. No one knew that he called holding until after he called it, right?
Yeah.
The official could easily said, like, no pass interference on the play, ball was uncatchable. And then the Chiefs kicked the field goal, and no one ever remembers that flag. No one would ever remember it, Matt. The Fox wouldn't even have showed a replay of it. That's my thing. It's like the NFL controls it. Just let it go. Like, I just want to see a good game, and the movie parallels the best I can do. Like, why would they put forth a game where they're trying to get other people around the world to watch it? And then, like, soccer fans, everyone always makes fun of soccer's flopping. How was that any different? That's worse, right? That's like just giving them the penalty kick, and they're like, yeah, well, that was messy. We better give him a penalty kick because he needs a World Cup, right? And that's why I think they were like piss pounding people with Messi, because he's like, I'm leaving no doubt, my man. We're going to be killing these teams, and then that's going to be it. No one can say like it was a fluke. Now everyone with this one, it's like the first thing you type in Super Bowl, the first 10 articles at least are all about the penalty and how it changed the game. Nothing about the Chiefs being better. Nothing about the game being exciting. It was the third most watched Super Bowl of all time. And it could have been the number one, Matt. Because I think they averaged those viewers. So, like, if you had a game-winning drive, I guarantee that more people are going to watch till the very end. I bet a bunch of people turned it off after that flag. Because I know I did. It was over. Basically, that was it. Everyone left. I just sat there. I'll have the TV on and just listened to the end where they were like, oh, he could miss this. It's like, no, buddy, he's not missing this.
Well, I thought I didn't watch it till the end because I thought with the kind of luck that I have, I'll shut it off and be all agitated and go to bed. And then you'll be like, yo, yeah, block the extra point. Why wouldn't you have watched the ending? Look like an idiot.
That only happens whenever you're playing App State, Matt, where the field goal gets blocked and they return it. But yeah, that's why, because I mean, like I said, even if it's blocked, it goes to overtime, right? That's why I don't understand like what the NFL's thought process was. And even if the player came out and he said, "Oh yeah, I held him," but like I said, they hold on every play. He was probably holding the entire game and they never called it. And they picked the worst moment to call it. And then what is he going to say anyway? Like, oh no, I was definitely not holding that. Ref's an asshat. And then they're like, whoa, buddy, you're fined $100,000 and you're done. You're not playing anymore. Like, you can't even criticize it if you're an official. That's why, like, I don't know. Like, if I was the guy, I would have just been like, yeah, show me the tape. The Eagles got like, yeah, show me the tape. And I could see, like, they were already talking about, like, Andy Reid, how he's, like, the greatest coach. It's like, give me a break. The guy's been coaching for 100 years. He has 2 Super Bowl wins, and there's an asterisk by this one. Right? Like, not a dominant win. I don't see how you can be like, that was a hell of a coaching performance. It's like, team didn't look that good. Got a break on defense where Hurts just dropped the ball. It wasn't even a great play. He just dropped it. He probably is having nightmares about that. I know I would be. People have nightmares about, like, falling. He's having nightmares about just dropping things. Dropping his baby, dropping a fucking football. He's like, mate, I can't help it. I just dropping it all the time. So I feel bad for him. I feel like he took so much flack at Alabama, and I hate to see a guy go out like that without even having a chance to redeem himself. He has to feel like shit. I don't even have anything else about the game. Halftime show, it was okay. Like, I don't know what people expect. Like, yeah, you're just having a, what would I be, hip hop, R&B with like dancers. Like, it's the same as like doing anything. I don't think there was anything groundbreaking about it, right?
At the start, I did think, oh, this looks like the beginning of a Mario game.
Well, they did have like the colors or whatever. I didn't know what they were going for. She was like just in all red. And then it was like I thought it was like a leather outfit or something. I don't know. But I just thought, like, where's the funny moment? Like, where's 50 Cent coming out upside down? Like, there wasn't a memorable moment where I could say, like last year, it would be like, hey, what did you think of the halftime show? It's like, remember when 50 Cent came out? He's like hilarious looking. And everyone's like, yeah, I remember that. That was awesome. Like, this year, it'd be like, I went to Chick-fil-A, dude. And for the first time, like, ever, the girl was like, hey, did you watch the Super Bowl? And she wanted to chat with me about the Super Bowl. And I was like, I've never been chatted up, first off, in a drive-thru about football in my life. Like, like, you know how many men dream of that, where they're just like, they see a girl and the first thing she says is like, yo, would you watch a Super Bowl? It's like, that never happens, ever. So then we were talking about like the halftime show and stuff, and I'm like, I honestly didn't really know any of the songs, and there was nothing memorable about it. I knew she was wearing like a red outfit, and I guess she looked pregnant, which she was, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so which I didn't know. I saw it on a couple articles. It was like, she's pregnant. And I'm like, yeah, she looked like that, right?
But I wasn't sure, and then as the performance was going, I'm like, I know she just had a baby, but is that...
How do you know that? How do you know that she just had a baby? I wouldn't know that.
Because I'm on the Twitter, and therefore it comes up.
Matt, so Twitter does pull some BS now, where on the left side they show you like all kind of random crap, but if you click on the right side, like following or whatever,
Yes,
I don't follow anything related to that, so I would never see that in my timeline.
and I just get sucked right into that left side.
Which it does annoy me that it doesn't save my preference. Because sometimes I'm like, yo, what is this jackassery that I'm seeing? And then I'm like, oh, right side. I got to go to the right side. Because, like, what was the one? It was like, the one day, I swear the first 5 things I looked were all videos of car wrecks. And I'm like, and I thought, how is this for me? Like, who am I following that's just retweeting car wrecks? And then I was like, oh, this isn't anybody that I'm following. It's some random guy that probably paid to have his car wreck videos promoted. It almost made it worth it, like, because there's like that bridge in Durham down here that, like, if you look it up, it's like the 12-footer or something where trucks just always plow into it. It would almost make me just want to be like, when I'm retired, just go ahead and buy an apartment near like a bridge like that where cars are just constantly wrecking, set up a camera, and then just post it to YouTube and make money for retirement. They're like, hey, you're retired. What are you doing in retirement? It's like, I'm filming car wrecks. And then I'm paying people to watch them on Twitter. That's what I'm like. That's what the left-hand column to me is, Matt. It's like, what am I doing here? So I always know, like, you get a twitch, like, something's wrong.
I start looking like, what is this?
So yeah,
that's how I knew Rihanna had a baby. Left side Twitter.
I just made a guess during the game. Like, someone said, like, yeah, she just had it, and I was like, oh, like, okay, like a weird choice of outfit for just having a baby, and then they're like, no, she's pregnant right now. And I'm like, oh, well, which is it, guys? I don't know the difference. Let me know the facts, and then I would know. But it was a bold outfit no matter what, if pregnant or not. That's the only thing I could probably remember, right?
I watched it and thought, that is the anti-Janet Jackson outfit. There's no way a boob was slipping out of that outfit.
Well, that's why I think the Janet Jackson thing is like, was that faked for attention? Like, that's the 50 Cent moment of that year, right? Something to talk about for the people. Because, like, everyone says, like, about needing, like, some of the rock bands, like the classic rock bands. But to me, that's kind of like, at this point, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because I go into any store, heck, even like a gas station, for some reason you're standing outside and they're piping in like classic rock. Like, I need to hear Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin as I'm fueling up. Like, oh, perfect, just what I needed. Or like, I go to like, and I'm like sitting at the grocery store and I have to pump in like these 80s music, and it's like, oh, is this Poison? Like, why is this on? Like, every rose has its thorn. Am I supposed to be checking my groceries? Like, what the hell? So then, like, if they put bands like that are classic in, like AC/DC or something, like half of them are dead, and then they're gonna sound awful. And even like last year, I thought like they could have just did Dr. Dre, and then the next year they could have did Snoop Dogg, but they want to like mix and mash. You really can't do that with rock bands anymore. Like, you can't be like, hey, here's AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, and Black Sabbath. It's like, oh, Ozzy singing, like 18 guys are on stage. It's like, it's not going to work, man. You can do that with hip hop and whatever, when it's just like one performer, but you can't do it with rock bands. So I think the rock band stuff, I think they're done with the halftime. I'd be shocked. I'll probably be wrong. They'll put like, what's the guy? I could see them doing like something like The Voice. Aren't a lot of the people like on The Voice in bands? Like, who's that one Adam guy and Blake Shelton or something like that? I'm assuming they're in bands, right? Or maybe I'm wrong. But I think if they could do like a show like that, maybe. Although, doesn't Blake do country?
Yes.
I don't know what Adam does. Rock?
Yeah, he's in Maroon 5.
Oh, is that a rock or is that something else?
Rock-ish.
Yeah, so like, I feel like they could do that, where the singers are just doing it, not the rest of the band. They're like, sorry guys, I got to go alone on this one. But I don't know. That's my thoughts on the halftime. People that are crying forward, like I think even Metallica made a comment. They're never going to put Metallica on the halftime show. They're never going to do it.
Well, then people would illegally download it and they would just absolutely go crazy.
Metallica was like, they did a car karaoke or something of like the halftime show. I don't know. I didn't really watch it, so I didn't know. I didn't get it. And I'm like, why are you guys trying to piggyback off this halftime show with your own car version of it? Embarrassing. Like, just try to play in the parking lot. The one year they did play in the parking lot, I think it was way back when the Raiders were in it, because I think they're Raiders fans. They just showed up with a truck and they played out in the parking lot. Do that again. Don't do a fake halftime show. Anything else you have for the Super Bowl?
No. I thought it was a good ending to the NFL season. And
It was a complete dud.
Had the scoring. It had the end of the game. I didn't even care who won, but I still felt like that anxiety of, oh crap, Kansas City's going to hit this field goal and win.
I'll say, to keep with my movie analogy, I bet like a dad move would be like you put a movie on with your dad and he falls asleep 3/4 of the way through and he's like, hell of a movie. What happened? It's like, oh yeah, that was a classic fight at the end. Like you look at the, like if you fell asleep before the final drive and you woke up and it was like, oh, Chiefs had to kick a game-winning field goal. Awesome game. Awesome game. You'd miss all the controversy. You'd miss the boring ending. And I think if you had that level of amnesia or you're that drunk at that point of the game, that's where I think you'd be.
But I think, like, look, a couple years ago, we had that defensive shootout, and it was like, oh, worst Super Bowl ever. Nobody could move the ball. It was just like 3 runs and a punt.
But that also had the best quarterback of all time, Matt.
Oh, for crying out loud.
So you have to give it at least 10 extra points, right? Wasn't that Brady versus the Rams?
Yeah.
Yeah. You also had
nobody wanted to score.
Well, see, that's like it's going to come up to what, like, based on your feeling, do you think Mahomes can beat Tom Brady where we're going to see him in the Super Bowl every other year or so going forward?
I think it's plausible. I mean, how many more years? I think he'll be in a situation where I think he's tied with Andy Reid. Like, I don't see where, like, Andy Reid's pulling some creative stuff out. Like, you have some of the unconventional plays that he's using. I don't know with a younger coach that you're going to get that level of creativity, because I just think they're not going to have that depth of knowledge to draw from.
But at some point, it doesn't matter who's coaching, right? Like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady at the end, it didn't matter who was coaching them, right?
It didn't, but like in both of those examples, they went to teams where the deck was stacked in their favor. Like Manning went to Denver purposefully, having Wade Phillips' defense in place, having the running back, having the offensive line, having the receivers, and all he had to do was just not turn the ball over.
So right now, looking at the list here, Ben Roethlisberger and Mahomes have almost identical careers. They just have the Super Bowl victories flip. Ben won the first 2 and lost the third. Mahomes won the first and third. They're both 2-1. Go ahead.
I'll shoot this from the hip without even looking at the rosters, but I'm thinking the one thing that might be different in Mahomes' case is that if he has a younger core, with Kelsey and some of those other guys, that if he has those guys that are going to be able to stick around for another 5 to 7 years, I think the potential is there for him to have that run, just with the continuity of players, where I feel like when Roethlisberger started hitting his stride with those Super Bowls, the core leadership was starting to age a little bit. And so they were hitting those cycles where they were having to bring, like, they were trying to get rid of Harrison, it felt like every year, and then would bring him back at the last minute. And like, it wasn't like they were winning with like a talented youth team. It was like guys that were, the Foots and the Farriers and guys that were like toward the end of their careers that like were willing to play team roles to get to the Super Bowl. I think if you're gonna try to run a dynasty type thing, you need to have that first win be with a really young team, and then keep all those core people together.
Well, Kelsey's already 33. So if he was doing another 5-year run, he'd almost be like what? He'd be like 38.
So he'd be really young in Tom Brady years.
Yeah, but he's a tight end.
His prime.
He's a tight end, bro. He's not like Tom Brady doesn't have to run at all. So
yeah, it shows too.
Why, he's ripped now, bro. Haven't you seen him and his new girlfriend out and about?
No, they're not on my left side Twitter.
Yeah, you see, you need to follow him, and then you won't be getting pregnancy updates. You need that work-life balance. You need to see like what's Tom Brady doing, and then you're like, yeah, I could be doing that, but I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna just be eating fish or whatever he's doing. But yeah, looking at this list, a lot of them like they fall off. I feel like even Aikman won 3 in a row, pretty much, and then he was like done. They're like, great run, Troy. Get in the booth. So like if Mahomes wins one more, he'll be in the 4-start category with 3 wins, which this list doesn't really show me how many people have how many wins, but he would be the only one with, or no, Troy Aikman has 3. So he'd be tied with Troy, so I guess I was right on. And then only above him are Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana with 4, besides Tom. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are the only QBs to win it with 2 different teams. Did you know that?
I did not.
Kurt Warner made it with 2 different teams, the Rams and then the Cards, but he lost. And Craig Morton made it with 2 different teams, but he lost both. That's back in like the beginning days with the Broncos and the Cowboys. But I didn't realize that when you really only made it twice, or usually made it with all the same team. Like Elway did it 5 times, all with the Broncos. He's the second most behind Tom. But he only won 2 of them, so people don't really remember him. That's why he's always trying to get on TV when they show the Broncos. He's like always there in the booth.
Yeah, and he's definitely built for radio.
Well, same with Sean Payton, man. I didn't even realize that was him. I thought it was someone like doing an impersonation of him. Like there's that one guy. You can look this up. This dude, like he spent like $30,000 to try to look like David Beckham, but he never went on a diet. So he's just like a fat version of David Beckham.
David Beckham.
So it's like if David Beckham needed motivation, this guy had the face surgeries to look like him. And he could just be like, well, if I stopped running, that's what I would look like. So I don't want to be like that. And then I still remember the guy gave an interview and it was like, I've got the liposuction and stuff, but it just didn't work. And I'm not dumb. I know that I don't actually look like him. And it's like, then why are you doing this, man? Like at some point, when do you just give up?
Well, then you're just sitting there and you're like, I think that might be David Beckham. But they just say like, no, it's not him.
But I think if I spent that much money, I'd have to go all the way and, like work out. Because like, did he not realize Beckham's like playing soccer where you run like constantly? So he's not like a big chubby guy. like holy crap. What was the running back for the Steelers that put on all that weight? Was it Mendenhall? I can't even remember. But it'd be like that. Like David Beckham really let himself go before the next season. He's going to have a hell of a training camp to get back in shape. That's what it'll be like with Sean Payton. I was like, good Lord, man. Because they were talking and I was like, who is this guy? And then they made a joke about him going to the Broncos and I texted you. I was like, that can't be him. Like, what is he doing? The stressors, he's setting himself up for an early heart attack. I'm like physically worried for the guy. So, shame. Any other NFL stuff you have?
No, that's it.
All right, keeping up with our football stuff. The XFL is about to begin. And I thought The Rock, and I guess Dany Garcia, his ex-wife, is pretty much running the show. But I thought the XFL had like a couple of questionable things where like they weren't really promoting it. It's still hard to find information. Like for me, I work in the web and stuff. The XFL, it's very easy to get your information on like Wikipedia and other sites and like news and stuff. Instead of just having your own website, it kind of looks like it's like a fake thing where it's like, no one's writing about the XFL. You're not running ads on TV to show me that it's coming back. I watched Super Bowl pregame. I saw about 3 USFL ads, right? I know that the USFL has had coaches leave for other jobs. I know no updates on the XFL. Like, I just casually see stuff trending, and it makes me worry for the XFL because you bring in The Rock, you're supposed to hype it up. Like, their most recent thing is they're introducing Hines Ward on the XFL website. Like, okay, why isn't Hines doing like an interview tour? Like, ESPN's hungry to write for stuff. They wrote an article about how no one's going to hear from Aaron Rodgers for a while. Like, who wrote that article? Why would you even write that? I didn't even click on it because I thought you'd have to be insane to read an article about someone that you didn't talk to and you're just making stuff up. Because if he's in hiding, debating on his future, he didn't put any information in to this article. It's kind of like, remember that Michigan guy that got fired for like accessing accounts or whatever on this company, I don't even know, Time or whatever they rated him.
Yeah.
They were like, one of these newspapers put out an article about like, hey, we finally got the Freedom of Information Request Act or whatever stuff. And we got some new insight. It was the exact same stuff that they already wrote about the first time. He accessed someone's email. No other information. I was like, how's this breaking news? You could have just auto-published that article as like a repeat with a new header and it would have the same information in it. To me, that's like what the XFL is going for. They're like, we're just going to redo it and hope people that just show up because nothing else is on. And I have a bad feeling that it's going to go poorly. What do you think? Have you been seeing stuff even?
I saw some stuff, but it's been to me it's been a drastic difference that when the XFL announced that they were coming back, and in between the two leagues, I felt like what the XFL is claiming that they're going to be is what the USFL is. Like, when we watched the USFL last year, I felt like a lot of the systems and like there wasn't a lot of the contrasting styles that I thought we were going to see. I thought like a lot of it seemed to be more geared similar to NFL style play, except a lower quality level of it. And I feel like the XFL, they announced all these partnerships where they wanted to be like a developmental thing for the NFL, and they want to have recognizable players, and they were trying to keep things close, but then you don't really hear any, like, I would think if you are partnered with the NFL and you're having the NFL backing, that you're going to be putting more stuff out.
That's what I'm wondering too. Because like, you're right. They talked about like the different styles, but it was almost like, hey, what's your WWE intro? And they're like, yo, air raid, my man. And then it's like, we're not going to really do air raid though. I'm just saying that. And then like the next guy comes in and he's like, oh yeah, we're going to do run and shoot. And they're like, run and shoot. And then he runs the same offense everyone else running. And it's like, well, we're hyping up these different styles to try to get people attracted to the game. And like the XFL is like, we're going to pretend we're just the NFL's minor league and hope that people watch. Like, there's no hype to it. That's what it reminds me of. It's like, hey, come see the Altoona Curve. It's like, why? It's like, well, you like baseball, right? Hey, watch the XFL. Why? Well, you like football. Weren't you disappointed by that Super Bowl ending? Well, now you can watch some more disappointing football. And they're okay.
And I think with both of these leagues, like, they're trying to toy with like some of the different rules adjustments, like for extra points, for things that let's float it here and see will this work in this league? And if it does, like if it affects the league, then we can try it with the NFL. But like they're almost playing with house money using these spring leagues in that way.
Well, I'm looking at it. The one thing that worries me looking at this is that they signed a deal with ESPN. ESPN has XFL dead last on their menu, behind such thrilling sports as the CFL, WWE, X Games, horse racing, rugby, basketball recruiting, NBA G League, and even cricket and the Little League World Series. So, like, you sign a deal with a league or like a TV partner, you know you're getting better TV viewership than a lot of these other sports. Like, there's no way the G League is getting more because the XFL drew better numbers than the NBA last year that it was on, right? So, they're not even going to promote you. You're dead last. They can't even say that it's alphabetical because MLB is ahead of golf and cricket's down near the end. So, like, who knows how they picked that? And then I look at Fox's sports. They have the XFL where? Nowhere? They don't even have it on here. Now, the funny part is they have USFL on here behind soccer and ahead of the NHL. So, like, one, you went all in with ESPN. ESPN doesn't care about you. You're on FX, but okay, I wanted to see more of like on regular Fox. Like ESPN's jamming these XFL games on ESPN2. ESPN2 is already annoying to get because you can't just buy. It's not like ESPN Plus. At this point, to me, just put it on Hulu or ESPN Plus. You'll get more viewers, right? I think if it's not going to be on ABC, put them on ESPN Plus. That's what the Big Ten's whole argument was with NBC Sports. They were like, if you're going to put the games on something, put them all on Peacock because Fox hasn't been doing that, which is why we want to change streaming partners and why they kept talking to Apple, because they just wanted people to be able to watch the games and not have to find them on like, hey, hockey.net's showing Michigan play whoever else they're playing, like not like Minnesota or someone. They'd be playing like Boston or something. And it wouldn't be on the Big Ten network. It wouldn't be on Fox. It would be like on some weird hockey streaming thing. And they're like, just put it on Fox. Just put it on the Big Ten app. And they didn't have that. And that's how I feel like with the XFL. It's going to be the same thing where it's like, hey, did you watch a game? Like, I didn't see it was on. And it's like, yeah, it's on ABC at 3. The night games are on FX or ESPN or both. Like, I don't understand what they're doing here. That's what's kind of annoying me. But that's more on the business side. We'll see how the first week goes. I really don't even know. I try to look and see like what players and stuff, but like I said, it's hard to find information on these.
Josh Gordon's playing for Seattle.
The sad thing is, half the rosters have no picture of the guy. Like, a lot of these headshots are their college headshots. The guy from Maryland on the DC Defenders is literally in his Maryland gear. So it's like, okay, this one guy, they have the same photo. Markel Utsi and Tariq Tisdale or Tarakoy, same face, 2 different schools. So like, it's like, what are you doing to me? I just wonder, like, I feel like even the players too, like some of them have to be decent. Like DC Defenders have Derek King as quarterback for Miami, right? Why aren't you hyping that up? So I was just going, he lists himself as Miami. But that's my thing. I want to see players that I know, and I want the XFL to kind of help itself out. But to me, at some point, we'll be following it. I know there are some XFL other podcasts. I figure maybe we should try to do some crossover shows, dude. You down for that?
I'm down.
We'll be like the only 3 dudes or 4 dudes talking about XFL. Maybe we'll get put on ESPN too. I'll say, what the heck is wrong with you guys? Put it on the menu. You have, like, I'm even looking to see what the top headlines are. Firing coach, Derek Carr's release, which we could have talked about a little bit. But I figure we'll talk about that next week whenever we're into the off-season stuff. We had some other things too. You put some football plays. We should start doing that stuff too now that the Super Bowl's over. I just forgot to mention it last week. And then what else? Major League Baseball was making changes to the pitching. Dumb.
Yeah.
Because, like, how many times have I watched the Braves have something happen where then they're out of pitchers? Let them pitch whoever they want to rest their bullpen. Don't let them run their guys into the ground before running into their position players pitching. Because it's like, may pitch if the game is in extra innings or in the 9th inning when trailing by 8 or more. But how does it affect that one guy that does both? Like, what's going to be his thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I didn't realize Kevin Sumlin was one of the ones that was leaving the USFL.
Yes, he was going to Maryland.
I didn't even know he was still around. He had that one year at A&M. And then, was that the Manziel year?
Yes.
He was all downhill from there. Anything else you got up for the XFL?
No.
I kind of went on off the rails there as we get ready for the off season. Anything you got for the final, Bill?
There was a lot of the stuff was just the XFL stuff that we had talked about earlier. Just appreciate the continued support now that we're heading into the off season.
Yeah, the other thing just to mention, I saw Michigan State had a shooting on campus, and I know they're a rival, but that's always scary stuff. So prayers out to them. And it's just insane that like an unaffiliated guy can just go out like that. But I think they had postponed all their sports and things, and it's just scary all around. But yeah, we'll be picking back up XFL season, some NFL off season, hitting some other sports now that it's going to be the off season. And if there's anything you want us to talk about, please let us know. The shows will probably end up being a little bit shorter, but that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.